Documents released by WikiLeaks detailing methods used by the CIA to break into messaging apps, smartphones, computers, and smart TVs brings to light our devices' vulnerability to any hacker. Joining us to discuss best practices is WSJ Tech Assistant News Editor Nathan Oliveras-Giles. He joins us now from San Francisco. Hi, Nathan. Thanks for being with us. Now, just to be clear, WikiLeaks says the documents show the methods the CIA uses to hack into various devices, but the authenticity of these documents has not yet been confirmed.
Yes, that's the case. Basically, this is a data dump of more than 8,000 documents, and they are dated from about 2013 to 2016. Independent security experts, many of whom I spoke with yesterday, are looking through these documents to kind of see if there's anything new here, and also to figure out the validity of them. The CIA itself, as well as these security experts, haven't yet said that all of this stuff is legit. But, WikiLeaks has a past of releasing some things that turn out to be correct and some things that don't.
And frankly, they probably won't legitimize them if they are leaked.
Yeah.
But anyway, for people at home, this is a good opportunity to revisit the security settings on our devices. Which devices do we have at home that can be hacked remotely, Nathan?
Well, basically, the things that are most vulnerable are the things that are the least secure, which shouldn't be a big surprise to you. But that really comes down to your television, your set-top cable box, and also maybe the old, dusty blue Linksys router that you have in the corner. If you haven't upgraded your router in a few years, you really should get on that. And that's actually one of the weak points for most people. But it's actually very hard to remotely hack into things like your smartphone or your laptop, as long as you're on top of some basic safety tips. These are tips that my team here at the Journal has given out multiple times over the years. But also in speaking with security experts yesterday, it was nice to hear that these things still do ring true. And that's basic stuff like keeping the latest version of an OS on your device, using two-factor authentication, using a password manager, some pretty basic stuff. So,
absolutely. But I want to get back to that smart TV, though, because that is kind of where everyone's going. I know personally I'm getting rid of my cable and I just watch TV through the internet. So it worries me a little bit. What kind of information could a hacker get by hacking into my smart TV?
Well, what makes smart TVs vulnerable, and this is something that's been happening for a few years now, is the fact that television companies and cable companies and everyone basically who has access to these televisions, they collect data and turn that into a big business. So they're collecting detailed demographic information. So it's literally what we're watching, sometimes in real time, when we're watching it, about how many people, estimations on how many people are in your home, the zip code you're in, which helps them determine about your income level, things like that.
How do they know that kind of stuff, though? They're not turning a camera around on my living room, right? I mean, I don't mind so much information about my viewing habits, but I definitely mind if they're collecting information that is a little bit more intrusive than that.
Yeah, well, it depends. There's a lot of information that they're deducing and making guesses on based on where you live, how much free time you have to watch television, and what sorts of programs you're watching. So they basically take that and cross-reference it against data that they've collected on other folks. In other cases, you're actually giving some of this information up to the company when you register your television with them for a warranty or things like this.
Good.
And sometimes your cable company, literally, they know who you are. You're paying that bill every month, so they have some of that information. Now, oftentimes when this information is sold to other companies for marketing data to sell ads against you, but also by political campaigns to understand who an electorate is, this sort of data is generally anonymized and your name isn't given out.
Right.
But it's still very, very detailed stuff, and it's the sort of thing that is primo and popular with advertisers these days. I mean, it's the sort of thing that Facebook is chasing, and it's the sort of thing that Vizio and Samsung and LG and basically everybody.
And anyone that can promise to deliver this information is going to get paid a lot for it. Now, is the same thing happening with all those Alexas in our living room? I know I have an Alexa. Alexa's probably collecting information about me.
Well, it's not totally clear as to whether or not Amazon is collecting that sort of demographic data at this point. But this is exactly what the business that Google and Facebook run is essentially built on, is this sort of marketing data.
Right.
Now, with Amazon's Alexa, and there are microphones built into a lot of smart television and smart TV remotes these days as well. Usually, it doesn't record any information on the things that you're saying until you hit a trigger word. In the case of the Echo speakers from Amazon, Alexa is generally that trigger word, although there are certain options you can choose in the app. But because there aren't the sort of security features on a smart TV that you'd find on your phone, or maybe a streaming speaker that you would find on an iPhone or a laptop, something like that. These do make them more vulnerable to being hacked. And
maybe we need two-step authentication for our TVs too. Now, quickly, I'm going to ask you, Nathan, before we run out of time, is it any safer to turn off our devices when we're not using them, unplug them? Does that help at all?
Unplugging them, if that's an option, might be the only thing. But leaving them off, generally they're communicating with the internet in the background. So that's not necessarily much better. Now, these are things that have been happening for a few years now. This is why it's important for consumers to understand them. But I don't want to raise any false alarms here.
Sure.
No new information was necessarily given out so far in these documents from WikiLeaks.
Right.
You're not less safe today than you were yesterday or anything like that. In fact, if there is any new information here, security researchers I spoke with said that this might lead to security patches from the companies that make different operating systems and things like that. But
just a good excuse to go over best practices. Thank you so much, Nathan, for all that great information. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.